I'm Mark Lau Branson. This is the third video on missional leadership, working with the three-zone model developed by Roxburgh and Fred Romanuk. We've already provided an orientation, and in the next video we talked about the green zone and the move from green to blue, in which a new organization that's generative and risk-taking and sharing leadership and new imaginations, very little control, moves into the performative zone, in which systems are developed, job descriptions more professionalized, strategic planning, developing something that preserves and controls its life together. And what would go on next in the three-zone model is this move from the performative organization into the red zone. So instead of being able to control and plan and make the plans perform in the way you want them to, something else is happening. It's usually a challenge, a stress created internally or externally or both. That the organization starts figuring out that what has been providing security, stability, a sense that we know what's going on and we can continue life in this form, it's not working anymore. So the neighborhood changes, the participants change, the society changes. There's some other disruptions that go on, and that moves into this time of red zone, where the temperature literally goes up, and the organization starts seeing that the old ways of doing things, the language, the activities, the planning, are not having the results that the organization wants. The first response in this is what's called reactive leadership, that those who have managed the organization want to keep control of what has been managed. And so the organization actually starts doing more training. How do we train better? How do we get more people to conform to the kind of activities that are needed? How do we persuade people to keep the budget working? So it's controlling the systems, controlling training, keeping the performance going, reminding people of why they're here, helping them buy in again. Sometimes new programs that are still part of the old performative approach to things. But these challenges are too big for just training and reifying the old ways. And so a leader, instead of doing the normal reactive leadership of preserving, controlling, strategizing within the old ways, needs to become a leader of awareness, needs to not have the fears of being aware of what's going on. And so an awareness leader helps the organization name the crisis, not in a complete sense-making yet, but an awareness of the crisis, of saying the neighborhood's changed, we're not who we were. Some way or another, there's different winds blowing. There's challenges that we don't know how to handle them. The strategies aren't working, and we don't need one more planning retreat. And so instead of reifying and pushing the regulatory environment, there is a naming of the crisis, a naming of this awareness. There needs to be enough stability in the organization for new listening and new risk to take place. So the move from this awareness leadership into the bridging leadership has to do with how do you help the organization listen to each other, to neighbors, to describe what kind of conversations are welcome, to have differences and disagreements and conflict without needing to fix them, just being okay with them being there. The scriptures that we have are full of this kind of language and prayers for this kind of experience. And so we can settle into the disruptive types of theology and biblical passages that can help the organization name what its life is like and what's going on. Obviously, the purpose of all of this is a theological sense that God is not a stranger to disruptions, and the disruptions, external and internal, have the Holy Spirit in the middle of them. Maybe the Holy Spirit didn't cause the disruptions, but there's no question that God is in the middle with the congregation as it moves into the red zone. And as it moves from this initial listening and awareness, there needs to be an understanding that confusion is not a bad phase. And so the confusion that's part of this phase is one of saying, we don't know our way in this zone. Our blue zone modes do not work. And so we are confused about who we are, about what our neighborhood is, about what our work is, about who needs to do what. And good leadership at this point listens to that, creates a broader sense of listening, a broader ownership of listening, a broader sense that we need to have new imagination and we're not there yet. But there begins to be this creation of an awareness and a listening that makes it possible to have an improvisation of new ways forward that haven't been known before. And so the red zone, the confusion is good and important if it's controlled. The movement will just be back into the blue zone. So instead of moving just into the blue zone, dwelling in the confusion, dwelling in biblical text, dwelling with each other and in the neighborhood, makes it possible to move into a transition time that will be part of the next video, where we'll talk about this red to blue to green shift in an organization.